Hey, Breaking Brown family, it's Yvette Carnell coming to you again as I do every Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I want to just get with it today because we have a lot to talk about in the world of politics. And one of the things that we have to talk about is something that Obama set up that is now being used by Donald Trump. And you ask me, Yvette, what you always blaming the black president for something? What do you blame? I mean, Trump is a fascist. He's a fascist. What are you blaming? What are you blaming our black president for today? Well, I think I have a very good reason for what I'm doing today, and I think I'm going to point out something. I'm just going to give the rest of the viewers a time to kind of get in here. And have a seat and grab some popcorn, grab a glass of wine. While you're doing that, just kind of hit the like button right up above. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. And you're gonna want to share this with the people on your pages.
This is gonna be good.
You're gonna want to share this with everybody, so that you know we got to get this started. We have something serious to talk about today. And what I want to, as I get people to just start coming in, I want to say something. When Obama first took office, one thing that I noticed very, very quickly is that you can tell how a president is going to treat your community by who he selects to represent your community. Okay? I'm going to say that again. You can tell how a president feels about your community by who he selects to represent your community.
Obama himself asked for the best and brightest Negroes around, right?
No. Let's think back, everybody. Let's think back to the Clinton years. Who did Bill Clinton have representing the black community? Well, if I remember correctly, he had the one and only Reverend Jesse Jackson. Now, I know how some of you feel about Reverend Jesse Jackson, and I'm not saying that I have. I'm not saying anything about him one way or the other. This is not some type of conversation about the good and the bad of Reverend Jesse Jackson. What I am saying is that Jesse Jackson has a legitimate connection to the civil rights movement. He ran for president twice. He did really good. He did much better than expected in one of them runs. We changed things about the DLC. There were black people who made it up in politics because of Reverend Jesse Jackson. Now, what those black people like Donna Brazile did about that is another thing in its entirety. But what I'm saying is that Bill Clinton had Reverend Jesse Jackson. Okay? Now let's move it a little bit further. You had George Bush. He tended to get and talk about the preachers and the pastors and tend to talk about faith-based initiatives. And he used a lot of pastors and different people for his, for that. In terms of his administration, he had Condoleezza Rice and Colin Powell, who I don't like their politics, but that's not the question. These were professionals.
Right.
Okay? Right. These were people who were about their business. Now, when you look at Obama, here's the point where it all falls apart. When you look at Obama doesn't bring in somebody who has a legitimate connection to the civil rights movement. He doesn't bring in somebody who has kind of paid their dues in the sense of being in the mix and being representative or has some type of expert knowledge like an economist, somebody. He brings in Reverend Al Sharpton. Ladies and gentlemen, the FBI snitch and the street preacher without a church, with a perm, it was the chosen representative of the black community. That was the chosen representative of the black community under the Obama administration. No expertise. He's kind of just known as a rabble rouser in New York. He's a hustler. There was a video. Remember the video a while back which showed that he had affiliations with the mob. So what I'm saying is that Obama started something that it appears to me that Donald Trump has continued. I watched a video yesterday that made me very upset. Very upset. And you all know, if you're on my Facebook, if you're on my Facebook, you know what I'm talking about. You know the video that I watched. Somebody said disgusting. You know the video that I watched. The video that I watched yesterday, I saw Ray Lewis. I saw Jim Brown. I saw, who else was there? Who else was there?
That was Mr. West, I believe.
Who?
Mr. Kanye.
Kanye. Oh my goodness, Kanye.
Well, he's a college dropout, I hear,
Yeezy.
but he has ideas.
Yeezy was there. Yeezy and Jim Brown. Oh my Lord. And Ray Lewis. Now let me tell you something. Black people.
They are black people.
They are black people.
All three of them are black people.
They are black people.
Right. And Donald Trump needed black people to talk to.
He needed black people to talk to.
He got the best black people he could find, right?
He did. Let me tell you something, black people. Let me just go through who these people are. Let's just go through who they are. Ray Lewis is most famous for being an extra large person who plays in the dirt. And if his second most famous thing is that he was involved in a murder trial. He got caught up in something. You got him to represent the black community. And he got up there and he said, with no knowledge of anything, and somebody told me that right now that he is suffering from some sort of cognitive, disorder because of his time in football, which you can expect because he had a long career in football doing what he did. So that's what we've come to know, is that that's what they do. That's what happens when you're in football a long time. It just breaks your body. And that's what everybody wants to put their kid in. It's something that just breaks your body. But I'm not going to spend too long to talk about that, about what football does and the controversy or anything like that. What I'm saying is that this is who he is. This is a man with no expertise, who may have a brain disorder, who was caught in a murder trial, who has a kid who basically, is charged with rape, and he is telling us that black and white don't matter. That's what he's telling us. Remember now, do you all remember when he was also accused of, wasn't there something before the Super Bowl where he was accused of sniffing or ingesting or pumping himself up with antler spray? And if you remember, he started touting some gibberish when they accused him. Like, I don't know, I know is that I'm a Christian. What that got to do with you and your antler spray? Like, did you? I mean, okay, and he's number one. Like, he is the guy who we say, he should represent the black community in front of Donald Trump. Okay, let's go to number two. Jim Brown. Now, I'm not saying that I don't have respect for the man. Let me just say, I don't want anybody to get confused. I don't want anybody to get confused right now and say, oh, Yvette is being disrespectful of the elders. I don't want anybody to say that. I do have respect for what the elders do and what they have done. But what I understand that some people don't seem to understand is that everything is about timing. Timing is everything. You can't judge somebody by what they did 30, 40, or 50 years ago, even 10 years ago. You can't do that. People are not necessarily the same person. That's what I was saying. Now, in terms of, this is true for everybody. This is not just true in terms of what we're talking about in terms of Jim Brown. It's just like what I said about John Lewis. You remember what I said about John Lewis? I said, he's not the same man who marched with Dr. King, and he can't keep claiming that. I don't know, can somebody answer me a question? I just want somebody to answer me a question whether or not Jim Brown was an orphan. Was he an orphan as a child? Because this man got on CNN. And said the three most important people in his life, the three most consequential people in his life. And he said, I know some people are going to think of me as a coon for saying this. Well, white people. You have somebody who thinks the most important people in his life were white. And he's representing black people to the new president in the most precarious time that we've experienced in a long time. We got to manage this right, and this is what's happening. But he sounds a lot like Obama, and I'm gonna get to that in a minute. In that Ta-Nehisi Coates piece, where the most important people in his life are white people, and you're representing black people. This is part of the problem. Oh, but last one. Let's get to the last person on the list. Kanye West, Yeezy. So wait a minute. So you have Kanye West, who just got out of a mental institution. After he, what did he do? He allegedly, he was at his doing physical training, and he got into it with somebody there. During his physical training session, he got into it and he was paranoid. He know what's going on. So Kanye West shows up with yellow hair.
All right, but Kanye West says, and this is a direct quote from his tweet.
Oh, put that tweet up.
I feel it is important to have a direct line of communication with our future president if we truly want change. So black people, he says it's very important for him to have access to the president for all of us. He's decided that it's very important for him to have access. The best thing black people can do is make sure that he gets access to the president. You don't agree?
I mean, first of all, the fact that Kanye thinks he has access to the president is kind of funny. Like the fact that he thinks he has access to the president. Kanye, whatever number you got when you call, it won't go through to the president. Maybe you'll get Omarosa on a good day. Maybe you, and I gotta talk to you, Omarosa, but maybe you'll get through to Omarosa. You don't have a line to the president. What is it? Of communication with our future. You don't have a line to the president, Kanye. You don't, and it's not gonna benefit us if you do. This is the thing that we have to understand as African Americans. These people are no longer entertainers. They're not entertainers anymore. So stop saying, I don't want to criticize Kanye. He just got out of a mental ward. I don't want to listen, the point is, he don't need to. Did you see the picture of Kanye?
He's our political leader now.
Did you see him though?
Yeah, he doesn't look very good.
He was just standing there like, just kind of, this is a man, and I was talking, who was I talking to? I think I was talking to Antonio. This is a man who runs fashion lines and stuff, and showed up to a meeting with the president with a sweatshirt on. You couldn't bring some of that fashion. You obviously are not stable and you're still not well. But somebody decided to call you and say, come here and take a picture with the president. And we're supposed to be like, yeah, we're supposed to. This who they want to represent us, black people. Understand this? They want us to be represented by a guy who plays in the dirt, who's just got famous for being extra big and extra fast, who may not be all the way there anymore, an 80-year-old man, and a man who just got out of a mental ward. Those are our representatives.
Well, I'm sure they went through a rigorous vetting process. They didn't go through a rigorous vetting process.
I think this is Omarosa's Rolodex. I think everybody who gets called there, are Omarosa's Rolodex. And I think we bear part of the responsibility for that too, because we're saying, well, I'm not gonna meet with Trump. Trump ain't my president. I'm not gonna meet with him. I don't care. He's a white supremacist. As if black people haven't negotiated with white supremacy forever. Like, that's what we've done since we got on these shores and negotiated. You think LBJ wasn't dropping the N word? Do you think what would have happened if MLK had been like, I'm not gonna meet with LBJ because he used the word N word for black people? What would have happened? Like, how short-sighted? Like, you don't get to say, if the president calls, you don't get to say, I'm not coming. I'm just not showing up. I don't care. I'm not coming. You don't get to say that. Like, what world do you live in when you don't get, even as a white person, even as a privileged white person, you don't get to say that. I was watching a video today, and Peter Thiel, who is a libertarian, and he's a billionaire, and he was sitting in the room next to Trump smiling. He's meeting with Trump, but you're gonna say that you wouldn't go because you're afraid because of what your friends say. Or because of what? Oh, I don't. I'm just gonna stand up for my beliefs. Well, that's not gonna feed anybody. You stand up for your beliefs isn't gonna feed black people. Trump can call me today, and I will come and have a meeting. I'm not gonna come and have a photo op, but I'm gonna come with some charts and some data, and we're gonna have a conversation. If I can't get at least an hour, I don't want to come. Give me at least an hour. You can give me a half hour. I'll make it work.
And I have a question, Yvette. Mm-hmm. What's the first question you ask Trump?
How are you going to put money in the pockets of black people? I need to know how that's going to happen.
That's the question.
We got a lot of different ways we can make it happen, and we can move and we can shape, but I need to know how it's going to happen. I want you to know Omarosa, I think Irony here, Antonio Moore, we're all available for meetings. We got scholars. Antonio interviewed William Darity. We have Michelle Alexander. We have so many scholars. You have a group of scholars, don't you, Antonio? That he's gonna. Lord, I'm getting my friends mixed up. Irony that we're gonna bring up to show you the people that he could be meeting with. Like, that's how they play us every time. They bring people up and they say, I don't see black and white. I don't know what you're gonna do. I think all people and Jim Brown said he won my heart or something strange. You got, what kind of weirdos are these? Why are we keep being led by these weird people? Like, all of these black celebrities are there for social engineering. They're there to kind of keep us in place and say, well, he can't be that bad if all these black people like him. He can't be so bad if Reverend Al like him. Reverend Al been down for the call for a long time. He can't be that bad if the Rev like him. Man, come on. What you mean? Like, what are we doing? Like, the thing that's so disturbing. Like, the thing that is so disturbing is just when I didn't anticipate it. I thought the Kanye West was like a little stunt, but I didn't anticipate it. I didn't anticipate it. So, you know, only thing I want to say is that this doesn't look good. I mean, this just doesn't look good. You know, you look at who is appointing. When you look at Secretary of State, you have ExxonMobil. When you look at, Department of Homeland Security, even if you don't like these people are experts in their field. Like a lot of these people, he's for like military and for like State Department and like serious stuff. Then you go to stuff that really impacts like poor people. You got like Ben Carson, and you get like, and you get these random people.
Let's be honest now. Ben Carson is a brain surgery.
But you know my theory on that.
Talk to me.
You know my theory on that. I read, if you ever get a chance to pick up a real good book, When Breath Becomes Air, at some point, maybe by the end of the show or something, maybe Irony can get us a picture of When Breath Becomes Air. It's a really good book, but it's a book about a brain surgeon in the last 2 years of his life, right? I gave the ending away. Anyway, but the truth of the matter is, it shows you what goes into being a brain surgeon, and it shows you, even though this guy was really well read because he had been doing that before he became a brain surgeon. But what the book really tells you is that if you're really being an expert, like in a field like that, you don't have time for anything else. You don't have time. So, I mean, to think that Ben Carson, a guy with no expertise, could do this. I just haven't seen it. It's not because he's a bad person. I don't want anybody to think that I think Ben Carson is a bad person. I don't. I think that he has so much compartmentalized himself to becoming proficient in a field where most people fail, that he doesn't have room for anything else. He doesn't have room to do anything else. He doesn't have room to maneuver in a different direction. And so,
So he's very smart. He just might not know everything. Right?
Yeah. I think he's a brilliant guy. I would say I think he's a brilliant guy. I think he's a very smart guy.
That doesn't mean he knows everything.
That doesn't mean he knows everything.
Especially, it doesn't mean he knows the answer to the one question we want to know, which is, how are you going to put money into the pockets of black people?
No, he's not. I mean, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know. Given what he's done, given what his career is, I don't even know if he's ever really seriously sat down and thought about housing policy. So what that would mean is that some black people who can talk sense to him and say, listen, this is how it works, and this is what's beneficial, this is what's negative. He can't go and be a liberal or a leftist. I'm not saying that, but just would need to get to him because he doesn't know. But you see Trump putting in experts in all of these other fields. Yes. And in this field, like when you're talking to black people, you bring us in this cobbled together group of the only one who wasn't a degenerate was Jim Brown, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't think Kanye West is a degenerate person, but first, you're just unwell. Like, you're just unwell. Like, don't show up for the meeting. Don't show up to me in your sweatshirt, your yellow hair. It just makes us look like we're odd and strange. But, there are a lot of, there are. And
I'm going to put up one, and we'll just call the roll. So if you're Donald Trump, the black person you want to call to talk about black stuff might be a guy named Darity, and he's at Duke. Tell me about Darity.
We just put up clips from the interview Antonio did with William Darity. I mean, he
what
broke.
What you learn if you talk to Darity?
I mean, he broke down wealth equality. He broke down the fact that education and hard work are not sufficient to close the wealth gap. He broke down the difference between income and wealth. He broke down a solution that I was going to cover today, but too much stuff happened. But he broke down a solution in terms of how do we close it? Well, he said baby bonds. You give people bonds when they're born. The government does, based on, where they are situated economically. So he broke all that down, but he's not getting an invite to come and talk to Trump. He's not, people who play in the dirt, People who do rap albums. And Jim Brown, who, God bless your soul, you're 80 years old. There's a reason why young people are the leaders of revolutions. You don't have the energy even for this task. And he did like he was on TV all day yesterday.
All right, so maybe you don't want a Democrat. Maybe you don't want a Democrat. And you're thinking, I don't want a Democrat to do this. I want a Republican. And I want a Republican. I need to find a black Republican who will tell me something about how to get money into black people. Could I talk to a guy named Byron Allen?
Yeah, you could talk to Byron. You could talk to Byron. If you want to talk to a black Republican, there's your guy. He's a black Republican. He's a black Republican. He's spoken eloquently about what Obama did wrong. So you can't say that, well, even though he's black, he's still an apologist for Obama. No, he hasn't been. He's been a staunch critic of Obama.
Why would you want to talk to Byron Allen?
I mean, if you're sincere about doing this stuff and really helping black people, wouldn't you want to talk to a black businessman who's a Republican? Like, why wouldn't you want to do that? The key word here though is if you're serious. If you're serious, these are the kinds of people, business interests that you talk to. People who will know if you're screwing them.
But does Byron Allen
know that?
Does Byron Allen have ideas about how to put money in the black people's pockets?
He did. He wrote it. He and Antonio wrote a Huffington Post piece about it. 8 things you do. 8 things you do to help black people or help. 8 things. I mean, I think it was 8 things, but they wrote it. It's up at the Huffington Post. It's there.
Concrete solutions.
Concrete solutions to helping the black community. It's right there. And what do? We bring in these people. And Kanye, oh my God. I just but let me just say this. Who else was anybody else on your list, Army? In terms of people we could. There's Michelle Alexander.
The people you can talk to, there's Heather McGhee, who's actually running the one good think tank in Washington right now, who can talk about public goods. Like, black people can't build wealth if they're trying to get lead out of their water. And Heather McGhee's like, look, we need to guarantee these public goods. Heather McGhee's fantastic. Yeah.
I agree. Somebody said talk to Cornel West, but a Republican's not going to talk to Cornel West.
You can talk to Byron Allen, though. Come on.
You can. I mean, he is a Republican. He's a black Republican. I came of age in a time where that's what we did. Now I mean that's what white Republican presidents did. They talked to black Republicans. They talked to people but Obama had a bunch of hip hop artists in the White House, and didn't Rick Ross's ankle thing go off? Just come on, you started this, man. Like you start Obama. Like we can't put this all on Trump. Obama started this thing of I want to feel my blackness, which leads me to another subject. If we're talking about people feeling their blackness, this leads me to our second topic. Now, before I get to the second topic, if you're watching this on Facebook, I want you to like the video. Just while you watch it, go up and click. More people see it if you like the video. And then share this with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, also like it. Also share it, but make sure you subscribe to the page. And if you can donate, go to breakitbrown.com. Look on there. There's a PayPal donation. You can make a donation one time, or you can make a donation recurring every month, which is helpful to keep this thing going. It's my second subject, since we're talking about people being led and black people being led. I think all of you know that Ta-Nehisi Coates came out with an ode to Obama. That's what I'll call it. I don't even remember what the original title. I don't even remember what the original. You know what the original title?
My first president was black.
My first president was black. There's a spin on a hip hop title. My president is black. My Lambo is blue, and I begot whatever. So anyway, I have a long list. Let me tell you. I started out.
Share this video because it's gonna get in. We're going in.
I got which video?
No, the video. This live feed.
Oh, you got to share this video. Let me tell you. Lord have mercy. I was so disappointed by this essay. Now, it doesn't mean I necessarily expected a lot, but let's just get into it.
It's a bizarre little piece, wasn't it?
It was a bizarre piece. He started. I mean, there was one part, and I'm just gonna take it down. I don't like to put up necessarily quotes. I don't like to get into it too much. I like to just talk about what happened. And you can read the essay yourself, and you can find the quotes. But there's one point where he's talking about Obama on reparations, and he says, Obama seems to have finally warmed on reparations.
Obama, dude, finally warmed. 7.5 years. Oh my!
Not even more than that. We got 1 month before he's gone.
He's finally warmed on that Negro.
We got 1 month. We have 1 month before he's gone. And I get an article from Ta-Nehisi somebody he looks like he's warm in the rear. It won't matter no more. Obama's in the rear view. Nobody cares what he's warm to. And then you know what else
he's figured out that black people are generationally poor, and it might have something to do with U.S. policy. Obama's figured that out.
And then he said something like, well, in Obama's quote, he said something like, well, theoretically, I see how people could make the case that the wealth gap that black people are experiencing came from the years of segregation and slavery. What do you mean theoretically, Obama? There's no theory in this. We just talked about Darity and breaking down the information that this is definitely, like, as a president, you should at least say, yes, this is definitely what it came from. Maybe I couldn't get it done, but this is what it came from. And this man said theoretically. Theoretically. I mean, it's just, this is what he always says. There was some time when we were talking about black people, and we were talking about how black people get harassed, and black men get shot, and black people get, all this stuff that happens to black people because they're black. And he said, well, I see how black people could feel that they are. Stop saying we feel and theoretically. Like, no, this is what it is. This is the truth. But the whole thing was just so weird. Like, even before, there was a point that Ta-Nehisi called him the greatest president. He said, I've come to conclude that Obama is the greatest president, one of the greatest presidents.
I'm sure Ta-Nehisi Coates had facts and policies that he could recommend that led him to think that the case, right?
No. He said that before he mentioned any of the policy, which just, maybe that was just like not good writing. Because he said that he talked about that a little bit later on in terms of the stuff that he done. And then one of the things that he mentioned was, he said, well, the commutations, and he has revived the Justice Department. What does revive mean? That's weird. Like, that's not a policy like you revive. Like Eric Holder said, he's giving me more money to hire people. Like, that's not, what do you mean? And let the record show. Let the record show. When it came down about the crack cocaine, people give Obama credit for the crack disparity. And the crack cocaine disparity. When it came down that we had actually found out, hey, this is overwhelmingly black men. I don't mean black men by like 51%. I mean almost all, up until a certain point, were black men who had been put in jail, because of this crack and powder cocaine disparity. Whose Justice Department, when they were trying to figure out, well, what do we do with the people? We've already changed the law for the people who will come before a judge regarding this. What do we do about those other black people who are already locked up? Well, an appellate court decided, well, we should go back and review those cases as well, and we should redo their sentences. Whose Justice Department do you think stood against that? It was Obama's. It was Obama's Justice Department. That's whose Justice Department it was.
Hold on, you're telling me you had a black president and a black attorney general, and we had this problem?
And we had this problem.
So it might be the case that is it the case that all skin folk are not kinfolk?
No, and and for Coates to do, like, the other part that I want to get to, listen, he said something that there was a whole lot of maneuvering in this essay where we talked about how Obama would not have gotten to become the president if he had not trusted white people, because he grew up around white people. His family was white. And so he wouldn't have gotten to this space if he hadn't trusted white people. But again, that was his Achilles heel. But Coates doesn't really dive into it in terms of the reason that he failed is because he really trusted white people. Like, he became the ingratiator in chief. He really thought that I can get in here and I have white friends. So these white people are going to like me. They are going to like me. I have a nice smile. I'm a smart guy. They're going to eventually like me.
I can work with Republicans.
I can work with them. These are sensible people. These people are sensible. They are sensible people, and they will like me if I try hard to, because that's the way it worked all of his life. All of his life. That's how it worked.
And what did the Republicans say?
They said, "Get out of here, you little toy baby." They stood up in the halls of Congress and said, "You lie, Obama." They accused him of lying, and he was supposed to give him a State of the Union speech. And they said, "You lie." I mean, and so.
But he was elected president of Harvard Law Review. White people love him.
Then. Well, and so, like, that don't matter. They still don't think of you as like you're my equal. you're my equal. That's not the way this happens. And then that was I mean, that's not the way any of this happens. Like, nobody thinks of you. And so he says, well, he trusted white people, and he was the thing is that trust blinded him to politics, and it blinded him of how to actually do politics. And there was, it's very interesting. At the beginning of the essay, I don't know, I thought Ta-Nehisi was like Generation X, but here he is telling a Sinbad joke. I thought that was for much older people. He's telling and it's a very bad Sinbad joke about, how, we only gonna have one of these kinds of presidents. Y'all gonna find out. We gonna have one. He from Hawaii and Kansas. You only gonna get this one time. Eventually, you're gonna get like a black man from Cleveland, and he gonna have a perm. Wait a minute.
I hope so. Like, if I'll take the black guy from Cleveland with a perm if he's gonna put money in black people's pockets.
Yeah, like what? But it's such a slight to African Americans. It's such a slight to African Americans. Like, he's exotic. He's not like you. He don't just come from like a regular area. He's eloquent. He has elocution. He speaks the Queen's English, and you might stumble and get out of white code and stumble into black code anywhere. Like, it was this, and the way
I think Nina Turner will put money in my pocket.
Yeah, but the way he called him elegant, like the way he said these people are elegant. Like, the elegance of Michelle and the elegance of Barack, like as if that's what matters most in terms of what we're looking for. I don't care. And then he went into something else. Hold it, you're not gonna believe this. He said, well, he tried to make the case that the reason that we got Trump was because of Obama. Like that was the reaction to a black president. And I'm saying that, like, partly some of that, you got some racism in there. Certainly, this is America. So yeah, racism is gonna be in everything. But this, you don't realize that this guy is sort of a failure for working people. And you can't just say that no, he's a failure because of Republican obstruction. Like that's a dodge. Because he had 2 years of his own, and he kind of meandered around with Obamacare, which is a Republican.
At least he fought for the public option. He fought for universal health care, right? Obama did?
Obama didn't fight. You know what Obama fought for? The TPP. And
Hillary Clinton.
And you know why Trump won? Because he came in and said, I'm going to get rid of TPP, and I'm going to renegotiate NAFTA. Like, to write an essay where you dismiss all of that. And you boil this down to mostly, this was a white racist reaction to the first black president. It's just sort of ridiculous. It's just sort of ridiculous to kind of make that argument and not deal with the failings. Obama said, and this is one point where Coach did kind of disagree. Obama said, well, I know that reparations is I understand that, but if all people do better, I see a world where black people do better. This whole one boat lifts all. No,
that's not how America works. White people do better eating off of black people. Like, that's not how America works. It's not the rising tide that lifts off the sheep. They will eat off us and profit from us.
Yep, every time. Every time. But nobody.
Not every time, but a whole lot of times.
In terms of government, like, look what we are. How you be in this country so long and still be on the bottom if somebody's not keeping you there? Ain't nowhere in the world. And they just feed us this stuff about us being wrong. Something's wrong with you. And that's another thing Darity pointed out. Ain't nothing wrong with us. We're perfectly fine. We save more than white people. And and have less money. What are you talking about? There's something wrong with us. No, there's something wrong with you. And if you don't, see, the thing is, even if you lift up all white people, even if you lift up everybody, you still lift up white people. So there's still a disparity. You have to do something specifically for black people to decrease that, to diminish that disparity, or to bring it equal. You can't just lift up everybody. That's a dodge. And that's how, and Ta-Nehisi let him get away with that. But what I realized reading the article was that and I'm going to be honest, I realized when I read it that Obama wasn't the only person who failed us during this administration. I mean, when I listened to Ta-Nehisi talk, it occurs to me that you failed too. You had a few meetings with the president that we never knew about, and you right, like, to put this in writing that I failed when I went to meet with Obama because I didn't wear the right clothes. He said I didn't wear the right clothes, and then sometimes my argument wasn't calibrated for what I was trying to say, and so I missed the mark. Like you can't like this man. You can't be this kind of insecure. You can't be still caught up in your childhood insecurities trying to represent black people. And I talk like what are you doing? Like are these writers from the New Yorker and from all these other places, are they so much in your head that they're telling you, well, Ta-Nehisi, when you have to speak to the president, this is how you have to. No, you go there and talk to you from black man to black man. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. Listen to this. Listen, this policy. This doesn't work. You said this and this is not true. Like, why can't you go in there with some sense of security in yourself? I don't care I don't care if I came there and other people aren't dressed like me. So what? I'm coming from the Atlantic. What do you want to do? I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna take my shot. Like, and for you to even I wouldn't have even put that in print. I wouldn't have even wrote that. Like, I did stuff wrong, and I mean, it was so. He's blaming insecure.
Himself for Obama not helping black people.
It was the most insecure thing I think I've ever seen. I have never seen. And maybe have you ever seen it?
Well, all right. So a lot of people don't understand about power. It takes practice. It takes practice, and it takes actually a lot of practice. And we need institutions that actually help people wield power with respect to justice. Like it's actually hard. It's a skill. It's an expertise, and it's an expertise that's gathered over time. And when you throw a guy like Ta-Nehisi Coates never governed, and what was he ever in charge of? He's never run an organization. So the expertise of governing is actually a thing. And it's not a thing that a lot of black people, especially black men, have because people don't put us in charge of things. Not even black women don't put us in charge of things.
I mean, they don't. But I don't understand. I just don't feel like I would feel intimidated, or I would feel like I really messed up. Like, this is my shot, and if I really messed up, it's because I don't normally have access to the White House.
Yeah.
I never been to the White House. I never been given access to the White House. You can't expect me to do everything right, and I never been here before.
And so you have Ta-Nehisi Coates blaming himself for Obama not passing bills or fighting on behalf of black people. We got him blaming himself, not Obama. I'm going to blame myself.
I'm going to blame myself for this stuff that happened. And I think there was one thing that really spoke to me in terms of, he said, Obama, in terms of playing basketball, he was downloading black culture. Well, let me just tell you something, black people. If you need to download black culture, I mean, we can assume that you're not anchored in black culture. And I think I think I made this criticism a long time ago. I said Obama's problem is that he's not African American. And a lot of people say, oh, Yvette, you're not saying he's black. The same thing that happened with the Tracy Silverstein story. You're saying he's not black. No, I'm saying he's not anchored in this. And so he has to learn this. So when something happens and he's not rooted in this, he's rooted in, he was raised by his white grandparents. He's rooted in whiteness. That's who he is. It was funny because during the video, Darity said something to the extent of, he said, my wife views Obama as a white man with a black daddy, as opposed to a black man with a white mama. And that's kind of the way I think. I think he's black, so he has to, that's the way he looks. That's how he came out. So he has to do that, but that's not where he has come from. So he did have to download that. But when you have to download that, it's not in. You didn't grow up hearing those stories. If you're an African American, you grow up hearing those kinds of stories. You grew up listening to that.
That's actually true.
You grew up, hearing black people in your family say stuff. You grew up hearing old black people say stuff about what used to happen to them. I visited a great aunt of mine a while ago, and she was talking about when the KKK used to come through. Those are the kinds of stories you hear being surrounded by black people. I don't think people understand the impact that, the absence of that had on Obama's politics. And I'm not necessarily even faulting him personally for that. But what I'm saying is that to act like, because he's black and you're black, like I said about I've said this 10,000 times, doesn't mean that he's black like you, that he's going through the same things. He didn't as a kid go through the barbecue. That's not what he was doing at 5. Right? He wasn't listening to old black uncles talk about, when they used to go out or when they used to date, or old black women talk about what happened in their day and when they couldn't go, when they couldn't go places. When I saw my father for Thanksgiving, he said, I was looking at an old picture of him and my mom, and I said, well, this is a nice picture. Where were you? He said, he told me where they were, and he was like, that was the only place a N-word could go eat at that time. So he was telling me that I took your mama there because that was the only place we were allowed to go downtown Atlanta. You don't get those stories. You don't, I didn't have to download that culture. And there's a consequence to having to download that culture. And I think Obama's time in office speaks to the consequence of that. And I think that's the problem.
Well, yeah. Well, he knew enough to like Stevie Wonder, but not enough to know that black people are generationally poor because of slavery and Jim Crow. Yeah. Like, it took him 7.5 years to figure that out.
Yeah, and he said something else to the extent of, well, what did he say? He said, there was something Ta-Nehisi said about the justice system not viewing black men as, or police or people not viewing black men as human.
He just learned that.
Yeah. That's interesting.
The devil you say, Barack Obama. Really?
I think that was Ta-Nehisi that said that. That was Mr. Coates. But the thing is, I think it's deeper than that. I think it's deeper than that. Like I remember if you go out tonight and you get arrested, it's not because
that could happen.
But it's not because people just all of a sudden looked at black men and said, "Oh my God, you're not human." It's because you look like everybody who's in jail. Like, you look like, because of mass incarceration. Like, that's who you come off as, and that's what, like, the problem is mass incarceration.
Having been to jail, there are a lot of people who look like me.
There's a lot of people, and that's what they see. I bet he's either headed to jail or he's been to jail. Sometimes I look at these white supremacists and I just troll them just to see what the threat alert looks like today. And, like, you know what they call jail?
What do they call jail?
They call jail NIGGAU. That's the way they think about it. So, like, the problem isn't fixing, like, white hearts and minds. You have to fix mass incarceration.
Because there are a lot of black people in jail.
Yes.
Especially in Atlanta, where there's concentrations of black people. Yes.
Yeah, everywhere there's black people, there's a lot of people in jail.
And a lot of black people in jail. So if you say that black guy looks like someone who's been in jail, well, if you've been to that local jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not the algorithm. It's
the fact that we're doing horrible things to black people in general, but in terms of mass incarceration, especially black men, we're doing horrible things. So when you see that many black men in cages, you think they're animals, right? Like, if I wasn't black, if I saw a bunch of people who had been in cages, I would think must be something wrong with them. I wouldn't. You don't go out and necessarily investigate that and be like, well, let me see if that's the truth. It must be something, like, not quite right with you. That's what I would think.
That's what they would think.
And so,
And apparently that might be what Obama thought.
I think that may be what he thought. He there's so much wrong. Like he said, there's one part where Ta-Nehisi said he paid a price for dating someone and marrying a woman who looked like Michelle. No, he wouldn't have been president if he had married somebody who looked like Michelle. Like, you think we're not ready for a black president? We're not ready for an interracial White House. Like, he had to marry Michelle, but you don't mention, you mention that he did all this, but you don't mention that before Michelle, like, he wasn't dating anybody that looked like Michelle. And so there's a whole thing to me that kind of feels like whitewashing of Obama's legacy. Even when you say Obama was frustrated by Black Lives Matter people because he wants people to understand that he can't do everything. Like, no, we want you to do one thing.
You are in charge of the Department of Justice. You can do a lot of things.
Well, they said he revitalized it.
Yeah, I gave him energy. No.
He exposed Ferguson corruption. That wasn't enough for you, Iron? That enough?
That's not enough.
You can't expose Ferguson?
No, I mean, there was a Democratic mayor in Chicago who was, like, beating people in the middle of Chicago in Holman Square. And
wasn't there some black sites? What happened with the black sites?
There's a black site right in the middle of Chicago. That's where they got the good information. They had a whole site for beating people in the middle of Chicago.
What happened with that?
It's still there. He said he was going to close Guantanamo, too.
What happened?
I think Guantanamo's still open, I suspect. Yeah.
And his chief of staff, Rahm Emanuel, is doing some kind of stuff there too. Yeah. But I don't know what you're so disappointed about, Iron, because he exposed.
He revitalized.
He exposed.
Because people weren't talking about black people in prison before Obama, and now people are talking about black people in prison. No, people have been talking about black people in prison since. I don't know. We had prisons to put black people in prisons.
Even all this stuff was nonsense. Even when you listen to him talk about, he did a lot of stuff he did a lot of stuff, man. He did a lot of stuff for all of us. And
there's still a lot of black people in prison, man.
But they say obstruction. Like they say, well, it was Republican obstruction. Do you understand if Obama had used his political capital to go out and campaign for all these other people who were up for close re-election campaigns because they had supported Obamacare, he might have maintained the Republican Congress.
I have a theory about that.
Nobody.
I have a theory about that. He's bad at helping anybody else. The only thing he's actually good at.
That's selfish irony.
I think he's actually like bad at helping anybody else except himself. Like, I think he's very good at getting Barack Obama elected, but he doesn't have any policy. So, like, is he going to like talk about a platform or anything like that? No, he's bad actually at getting anybody who's not named Barack Obama elected. That's why I think he actually went hard for Hillary Clinton.
He did.
He went hard. He really I think he had money riding on that. Like, I think Clinton not getting elected costs Barack Obama like millions of dollars over the course of the next 8 years. I don't think he can do it. I don't think he's got that skill. I don't think his only gift is getting people to like Barack Obama.
Let me tell you. I think you're right. I think you're right. I think there's a little narcissism in that. And let me just say this. There was one point, and I'll just say this, and then we're gonna take a call. There was one point where Trump, he said, well, you have to be, in order to be the first black president, you have to be a Harvard grad and a professor and all this stuff. But in order to be, for Trump to be president, he just had to be, what do you call it? Xenophobic and racist and I mean, he just said, well, no, but Trump's a billionaire. Like, what do you mean? Like, what are you saying? Like, and in terms of politics, they're both inexperienced. Like, Barack Obama won during his first term in the U.S. Senate.
Yeah,
like,
he didn't know
he
how
had
to
a little more experience. He had state, but it wasn't like. It's like, but Trump has business experience. You're trying to say they both are inexperienced the same? Like, how do you say that?
That's not true, because Barack Obama thoughtfully picked his own cabinet, and like he brought all of his experience to bear.
Which bank did pick his cabinet? Which bank?
It was Goldman Sachs and Citigroup.
It was Citigroup, yeah.
They said, Barack, shut up and hire these people. What did he say?
He said yes.
And
yes. Whether you like it or not, Trump is hiring all of his own people, and he don't care what you think, because he's a part of white wealth and the establishment. He don't have to care. He ain't cared for a long time. Barack Obama was running around, being puppeted around and stuff, and you're gonna now come here and be like, well, and the whole essay starts off with him at a party, and he's talking about telling bad jokes. There was one line where they said they were talking about paper bag test, and then there was another line we were talking about, that's the good hairline. It was just like, Ta-Nehisi, what kind of circle do you run in? Like, I'm sure everybody wasn't telling bad kind of racially.
Well, why wasn't anyone talking about how we're gonna get money into black people's pockets? Because
aren't we always talking about all the wrong stuff?
How are we going to clean up lead water in black communities? Like, I don't know. If I'm at the White House...
I'm ready to party.
If I'm at the White House, I don't care what it's going to be. That's going to be my question. How are you going to...
You're just getting in the way of people dancing jigs. I don't know what your problem is.
It's not going to be talking about hot sauce. It's not going to be talking about nay-nay. How are you going to get money into black people's politics? Black people's pockets.
You're just trying to mess up the party.
Tell the people the number.
The number for the call-in, I think I lost the number. Hold on. I got it.
The number for the call-in is 970-296-8222. Once again, that's 970-296-8222.
I don't know what I did. Do we have a 786 number?
We do have a 786 number.
Let's go to that one first. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hold on, let me see. Hello, caller. I don't know. Let's see. Hello? Hello? Uh-oh. You all created this mess. You all created this mess with Mr. Obama. What else happened? Trust blinded him. I mean, my if you ask me, like, what's your assessment of it? What's your final assessment? I think Ta-Nehisi's, I think his writing expertise in this instance outpaces in a lot of other instances. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello, I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yvette, this is Pascal.
What's going on, Pascal?
What's going on? Ramiki?
Hey, Pascal.
Again, talking about this Ta-Nehisi Coates article. I actually wanted to call in to share some thoughts. I finished the article, And the thing that struck me the most about the article is how obsessed Ta-Nehisi Coates is with Obama's identity. Not particularly this is identity as a black man, but how his particular identity as a biracial man who grows up in Hawaii with grandparents from Kansas with an African father makes him particularly qualified to be African American. And what I found the most offensive about this whole article, this whole catastrophe that he lays out, is that it basically demonstrates what was the key to allowing this completely unqualified, first-term senator who was manufactured by the ruling class, finance capital, who, as of 2006, was already meeting with people from Citibank, people like Bob Rubin, talking about I'm down with your agenda, going to the Hamilton Institute and talking about how I agree with markets. Basically having people like Michael Foreman, since he was in law school, who was a Citigroup executive that picked his whole cabinet. The thing that I find interesting is how much Ta-Nehisi Coates ignores Obama's identity as being something particular and something to be exalted, and how much he views Obama through this prism of pop culture.
Yeah.
But it made me really harken back to a piece that Antonio wrote, talking about basically the veil. It was reminiscent to me about this particular fascination with viewing black identity through popular culture. And if you look the first 2 or 3 paragraphs of the piece, all Coates is doing is talking about he literally says that Barack Obama is a fixture of hip hop culture because
he does.
Like the vanguards, like Africa Bambaataa, like Kool Herc, he is from the generation of the founders of hip hop. So he basically he takes Obama and he puts him in the context of African American popular culture and gives him this kind of credibility as a figure to say, listen, not only he's a president, he's part of our cultural identity. This is a guy who had to learn how to be black pecan Negroes to buy into Wall Street bailouts. This notion that Obama did this wonderful. This is a man, a Ta-Nehisi Coates is a Howard graduate. Howard University had its bond ratings devalued because of Barack Obama.
Yes, sir.
That's a fact. That's an absolute fact. All right, this guy literally, over 60,000 black teachers have been fired because of his Race to the Top program of charterizing and privatizing public education. And to have this Negro in the Atlantic wax rhapsodic about this Wall Street porn, like he's been some kind of great gift to black people, is beyond offensive. It's beyond offensive. And the thing that is so funny, there's a point in the article where he talks about how he's worried about Donald Trump coming into office and having the whole security state and the NSA under his control. Because Coach talks about how he got his father's FBI fired, his father was a Black Panther, and he was saying how he's worried about this. And Obama reassures him with some kind of ridiculous, comment about, it's only if Americans are involved in terrorism. My administration has been being clear that we don't use this kind of power inappropriately. Man, you have persecuted more American journalists with the Espionage Act than any president in American history. You murdered Anwar al-Awlaki in Yemen with no trial, an American citizen. And coaches are sitting there eating this up.
Yeah.
It's just an incredible amount of total malpractice. Talking about the fact that Obama, one third of African Americans, 1/3 more African Americans are being benefiting from Obamacare. You need the same Obamacare that's going up 24% with the premiums this year right now.
Pascal, you killed him.
The degree to which this Negro is just trying to absolve this charade that we have in the White House that has been literally, we have the worst in the black community, the worst home ownership race since before the Civil Rights Act in this country right now. We had the worst black style poverty in 40 years, almost in my whole lifetime. The Voting Rights Act was gutted. Affirmative action is on its last leg. And you have the nerve to be literally singing the praises of this president who hasn't done a damn thing for the material condition of black people, all because, well, he's commuted 944 black people. After his administration, as Yvette has already told, tried to sue the Senate and his testimony sued to make sure that black men who were eligible under the 2010 crack cocaine disparity law to sue to keep them in prison. I mean, this was beyond egregious. The past that he gave this Negro because he can put Barack Obama in his Black History Month calendar and feel good about himself because he's so invested in having white people have to like him. It's so there's a point. You know, the pathology in this article is insane. I can't explain to you how much it pissed me off. There's actually a quote in the piece where he says there was a part where he says I see Obama walking in front of this white audience and they love him and something makes you feel like they love me too. I mean, this is the pathology. This Negro, the whole piece to me is just like he is so desirous of being accepted by white folk. And the thing that bothers me the most about Coach is that his whole writing is premised on the assumption is that all black people want is white folk to love them. We just want to love them. I don't give a damn if these people love us. I want justice, and I want them to have equity and resources and distribution of wealth that does not be blocked because of the color of my skin. I don't give a damn if anyone loves me or not because I'm black or not. That's irrelevant. But this whole emotionality being invested, I want to be accepted. To me, this resonates so much in the way he talks about race and this kind of essentialist notion, like, yeah, we all get down with, when we hear, our favorite R&B songs. I was like, it's just this cartoonish ideology of what he thinks blackness is or is not. I find the whole thing offensive. I find his whole enterprise offensive, and I find the fact that he's being dispatched to represent black image and black ideas at the Atlantic is perfect for this neoliberal age where they dispatch identity to be nothing but a tool for finance capital and the military industrial complex and all those other things that oppress black people.
Pascal.
Yes.
Boy, you did the best. Yes. You did the best job ever. Thank you. I thank you so much, Pascal, for calling in. Oh my God.
Well, now people will say, and someone said, Barack Obama did My Brother's Keeper, which is a big GoFundMe campaign, the national GoFundMe campaign for black people, and that's what one of our Facebook friends said. That it's an underfunded program, and that's the one thing Barack Obama is going to say that he did for black people.
Well, it's unfunded. It's just
it's a GoFundMe campaign. It's a big old fundraiser for black people.
I mean, let me just say. I mean, I just want to commend. I just want to commend Pascal on that comment right quick. I just want to commend you. I mean, that was I didn't say that better myself. I mean, and what he said about Ta-Nehisi being desirous of having this like white approval, of like having this white approval. I mean, because there's one part in the essay which I didn't mention where he basically said, well, I see Barack Obama give a good handshake to white people. What does that mean?
I do not give a damn.
What does that mean? What does that mean? So let's go to another caller because I don't want to leave. I want to see if I can get some more through this time.
All right.
Oh my God.
You're on. Hello.
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 How you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, this is Person Kid over out on the West Coast. I have to say that I do enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Of what you guys have been doing. I've been listening to you guys for some time, as well as I have financially supported Breaking Brown in the past.
Thank you.
And I deal with investment trading and forensic economy, and I know this might sting a little bit, but this is something that is all too recurring and unfortunate, blissfully unaware theme that I hear, and it, not just from here, but from a lot of different areas. All we need to do is get money in black folks' pockets, or we can't, or we need, or I just got to be real with you. We're into a situation where it's econo-ethnic protectionism. They don't, whether it's Trump, whether it's the Chinese, whether whoever, don't care, and they will not share In other words, King of the Mountain is not a multicultural sport. And for everybody but black folk, multiculturalism is Hunger Games. And the thing is black folks, even those of us who are complaining, I could barely hear you. Can you say that again?
No, I heard you. I heard you. I just said, but go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So those of us, including yourselves, and I'm guilty of it as well, is complaining and asking and begging, and we need to get, money. Black folks' problem is not money. Okay, I got to be real with you. Black folks' problem is not access to capital. We're in one of the most deep liquid capital markets in the world. Black folks not only just spending patterns, but the velocity of the money that goes through our hands every day. Don't ask me how many of your commenters pay an internet bill. Clearly they have to in order to go ahead and comment. How many of us shop? How many of us do our laundry? That's no problem. It takes money to do that. Okay. Let
me interrupt you though.
Money in our pocket.
But let me interrupt you for 1 second. I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish. I'm not gonna just bombard you. I'm gonna let you finish. But let me just say one thing.
Okay.
Capital. We live. There's a great documentary called I think it's called The Seat of the Self, or The Soul of the Self, which goes through how Madison Avenue devised the plan to make this a sort of a consumer economy as opposed to a need-based economy, right? And so what happens is, and when I say people do have access to internet, that's true. But let me tell you something. I had an iPhone 3. I tried to keep my iPhone 3 for as long as I could. Do you know what started happening to that iPhone 3 as we went to iPhone 4 and iPhone 5? That I couldn't download apps. Apps were telling me, well, if you don't have the latest software iPhone, you can't download it. Like capitalism puts me in a position where I have to consume. Like, so you can't to kind of put this as a choice. Like, we're in a super capital country. To kind of present this as a choice, I can't even fix my own clothes anymore. Because like I said in another episode, if I tear up one part, the other part breaks because it's called planned obsolescence. I can't just take care of a car and drive it for a long time because it's planned to fail. So I think I understand what you're saying, and I do agree with your first part of that multiculturalism is Hunger Games. I understand that, but I think to say that to put this all into the say this is all a choice, I think that kind of diminishes where we really are. But go ahead. I just wanted to add that part in while I was in my head.
Yeah, because now let me go ahead and diminish your diminishing. Here's the deal. How many of your internet, or you yourself or anyone else, outside of what you're doing, breaking ground and other things, what other types of industry? And here's where I'm going with this, okay? When I say access to capital, black folks can spend money. I don't care whether it's planned obsolescence or whatnot. We spend money, okay? What is the problem is what you do with it as an aggregate, as a collective. What have we done as outside of other groups? And the reason I ask, what do you do outside, whether it's outside of breaking ground or what other, and I'm talking black folk in general. Here's my problem. Earlier today, I have a plumbing problem, okay? And I was trying to get it fixed, and I'm going around trying to, find services. And the first thing I do is I try to find the black folk. Okay, where are the black plumbers? We
don't have a marketing budget.
Broken glass. Who's the one who's going to fix glass in the window? I can't even find a black furniture company. How about clothes? I did see some folks that sell, black nationalist T-shirts or, I love black hats or, but I have to go to Target for underwear, okay? I'm talking about the things that the world wants, needs, can't do without, and ready to kill for it. And black folks don't aggregate that in order to create those industries, whether it's plumbing, whether it's, gas stations. Go to Detroit, who owns the gas stations? Not even their own hair care. So access to capital is no problem because we just spend. There's very different things that I teach or when I do my lectures. Very, very simple. One in particular is Dr. Seuss, The Sneetches on the Beaches. It's pretty much cut and dry as to what black capitalism, for lack of a better term. When I say capital, I should say capital expenditure, for lack of a better term. In other words, spending money on things that you don't need is basically the polar opposite of exactly.
No, listen. I mean, but here's the thing: we interviewed a Duke economist. Like Antonio Moore interviewed a Duke. If you don't follow Tone Talks, go to Tone Talks. Follow Antonio's page.
I talked to him. I mean, I didn't talk to him. I not really debunked, but I had a couple of issues with what they had to say.
That's fine.
In terms of targeting markets.
But that's fine. But to say
hit the mark.
But that's fine. But the point that he made, that hard work and education don't close the wealth gap. There's another point though. The middle black family is worth $1,700. So like for you to say that we have this money, yeah, we have money that we spend at Kroger, that we spend for the iPhone because that other iPhone ain't gonna work no more. We do have money, but to say we have money that's anyway, like there's one of the things that he brought up during the interview is that there's a certain thing as relative wealth and as absolute wealth. Like relative to white people, we don't have anything. We don't have anything. Absolute wealth. I mean, in terms of absolute, like in relative, when you look at black people in comparison to white people, we don't have it. We have the middle. There's no escaping the fact that the middle black family is worth $1,700. That's not money. That's not wealth. That's not capital.
Let me tell you something. Outside of this, I work with a lot of entertainers. I've also done stuff with Kanye West. I've done stuff with a lot of individuals. I was just at the White House about a month and a half ago with Hispanics on a thing that they were trying to do to push an agenda before they thought Hillary was going to get in. I'd say like 6 weeks ago. The thing is when I called up to try to find that plumber, I found Mexicans who do not have access to capital. But you know what they do as an aggregate? Right now, they own Southern California's food chain. Okay, this is what they did from not having worrying about an iPhone 3 or obsolete apps. This is what they did when they aggregated this stuff up. Outside. Let's put it this way: during the '90s, the '80s, or even the '70s, where black folks, did try to get industry, and then all of a sudden they went ahead and squandered it amongst ego and squandered it amongst trying to be the sneakers on the beaches and buy the next toy or whatnot. I got to be real with you. At that particular time, of course, you have an immigration influx. But what they did is not only aggregated information, not only did they aggregate capital, they also had a protectionism. Because keep in mind, again, like I said, econo-ethnic protectionism is where the whole world is going right now. Well, here's the deal. They've aggregated that and they pushed it and they've leveraged that enough to where now they own pretty much Southern California's food chain. And it's not just them. The former Soviets. Now, if you want to get an appliance done, because of the fact, and they didn't have to worry about, what kind of obsolete whatever, or they didn't have to worry about, well, the whites have this amount of wealth, and we don't know. What they did is they said, we have to monitor our spending patterns as an aggregate, as a collective, instead of being collective individualists like black folk are.
That's not what he did. That's not what happened. That's not like you keep saying that like these Mexicans are just doing it different. What I'm telling you is that you don't know what these Mexicans are doing. They have a homeland. You don't know whether they
actually,
get.
I do. I work for.
Well, you work. But hold on 1 second. You also work. But wait a minute. You also said you work for. No, wait a minute. I'm gonna let you finish this last bit of. I'm gonna let you get the last word, but let me just say this. You also brought up Kanye. Kanye himself said he's in debt. He went on this whole rant about being in debt, and now he just got out of a mental hospital. Like these people, I mean, you can't bring Kanye up as an example. Like the best example is Byron Allen, who is a multimillionaire who is saying that we're locked out.
The reason I bring up Kanye is he's in the same basket as Byron Allen. I'm talking about the aggregate of the wealth. I mean the aggregate of a collective, for lack of a better term, all you guys using your money together to create industry, to create something so we can be a protectionist about what we spend, what we invest, what we do. And Kanye is just is part of the system is Byron Allen or you or I or anyone else. I've dealt with and worked with Mexicans, and I mean many, and I do know what happens within them, whose wealth is basically rivals that of a Donald Trump. We did numerous shows with them. We did many, and they own. The case in point, some of my traders that I teach, and I teach a lot of black folks. I taught them about just about everything I could about investment and trading.
They got 1,700 though,
and I taught the Mexicans 1%. But now they own a silver mine, and the black folk are still scratching around trying to figure out what to do. Okay, I got to be real with you. They own not only like 3 silver mines, but they also own several restaurants all over Mexico and Southern California. They went ahead and said, look, we're not going to wait. And they even asked me, they said, why are black folks constantly, scratching, begging, and crying? And we don't wait for anyone else. We go out and do what we have to do for ourselves, and then we protect ourselves by making sure that but
but see, you don't understand labor. Like
ahead.
you know, like the thing about it is, we are being replaced by Mexicans. Like they're not descendants of slaves. They don't even get looked at the same way we do. And you don't know all the time what kind of connections they have with their homeland. Where they get avocados cheap. Where they get tomatoes cheap. You don't know anything about that. And the thing you keep saying, Byron Allen, Kanye West. Well, Byron Allen has money. Kanye West said he broke. But the point of the matter is, Byron Allen said, but yes, it does in America. This is America. What do you mean it don't? You telling me? Wait a minute. You telling me money don't make the man, and we live in America, a super capitalist economy, and money don't make the man? Yes, it does. Trump would be a car washer. Trump would be a car washer. Trump would be no. Do you really believe Trump would have made that money if his daddy hadn't given it to him? No, money makes the man.
Man.
No.
Oh, this is America. Which generation?
I couldn't hear you. Say it again.
No, it's just not true. This is a super capitalist economy. It's just not true. But I appreciate your call, caller. I mean, I appreciate you calling in, but we got to go to the next call.
I appreciate you guys.
I appreciate the support too. I appreciate the support. I really do. We just have a disagreement, but I appreciate you.
Oh yeah, no, I feel you. Again, Kingdom Now is not a multicultural sport. It's about us. It's time for us to get into the game and not complain.
Well, I agree that it's time for us. And I thank you, caller. I thank you, and I appreciate your support and everything you've done. And it's great. Mm-hmm. And I want everybody to know I don't have no problem. Me and you can fight. You can call in and we can disagree. I still love you. I still love the support, and I appreciate this man for calling in and sharing his perspective. We just disagree. I mean, you know, when Byron Allen says I did all the right things and I'm still locked out, And I can't, and I'm still trying to find a way.
And everyone else is getting government to work with them, and government won't work with me.
Yeah, I think people underestimate the way that black people get treated in this country as descendants of slaves and get regarded as an underclass, and the way that other people get treated in this country, in this economy. You know, when you look at, you know, in a lot of ways, immigrants have more secure employment than we have because people assume that they're going to work and not complain. So what you're looking at, when you see, the problem is we look at immigrants and always think, well, they're doing worse than you. And so what's wrong with you? No, in some cases they're doing better because of how they're perceived by white people. They are perceived as people who will work harder because people perceive them as coming from desperation, not because there's anything wrong with our work ethic, but we've been here for hundreds of years. So the kind of what my whole point is that, you know, the argument that he's making doesn't really hold out. I have, you know, he says, well, you know, blah 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 blah. You know, Byron Allen is a black Republican who has done everything right in terms of business, and they still told him he can't have a channel. I don't even think that would happen to a Mexican immigrant. Like, you can't have a channel. I think you could have a mariachi band. I think you could have one of those, but I don't think it will happen for us. So I agree with the caller about it's time for us to get together, because it's time for us to understand that we are all, you know, descendants of African, you know, we are African Americans. We're all descendants of slaves. That's how we have to define ourselves, and that's how we have to protect ourselves. But you never really, you know, Kanye West said himself that he is in debt. And he said himself that, and then right after saying that he's in debt and he got all these problems, lost his mind. And so
money, if money didn't make the man, money might undo that man.
I mean, 1,700. Like the middle black family, I keep saying, like you said, well, Mexicans have less. How do you know they got less than 1,700? Like, because the data shows they have more. The data shows it takes black people 228 years to reach the position of white people, and it takes Latinos somewhere around 80 years. So the data shows that they have more, not less. So
have connections to family. We got another call.
Okay, let's go to the next call.
You're on. Hello?
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 Hello, caller.
Oh, hi. This is old school. Hi, Yvette. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's freezing in Chicago, but I'm good.
Ooh, do the best you can.
I just wanted to say that last caller that that you just spoke to, he kind of just I don't want to say he did kind of make me a little angry there, because I'm fairly young. I'm 32. I don't got no cable in this house.
Yeah.
I don't have any internet in this house, and there is a number. I mean, in my apartment, and there's a number of my friends who. We don't have the same thing. We don't have that either. You know, and we are all college graduates. We're not out here just throwing our money out to the club or wherever else, you know, these that guy thinks that, that we're doing that. We're literally trying to make it off of the checks that we're receiving. And for him to just sit there and go, oh, well, all we do is just spend our money, No, that's not the case. When a lot of me and my friends got out of college, we thought that what we were going to be able to do was to go out and to get that dream job. Half of us have master's degrees that aren't even working for us. Me and my friend personally have master's degrees in subjects that we were told would guarantee us a steady income, and we're both unemployed at this moment.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's the truth.
there ain't nothing that we haven't done.
Yeah, but that's the
nothing
thing.
that we haven't done. I did 500 hours of internship and practicum. My best friend did 500 hours of internship and practicum, and yet we still don't match our white counterparts at all. So
No, and
it's funny that
The thing is that your story is not unique. That's the thing about it. Like, you're not the first person who I call here to say I don't have a job and I have a degree, and I was waiting 12 or 13 months.
I bet she has debt though.
Yeah,
and I mean
it's just like you have debt, but you have no job, and it's just like what has happened to black people is that college education was supposed to be a key. It was supposed to be the key to unlock the door to the middle class. And what has happened is that a lot of black people have keys and no doors. And so that's what you're dealing with. And so for people to say that, like, oh, this is something that you've done and you should do. I mean, the data is specific, $1,700. That's $1,700. I saw, and I'm gonna let you finish, Carl. I'm sorry, but this has got me on a tangent. There was a woman who commented on a Facebook page that I saw where someone was encouraging her to invest money. And she said, well, I took my refund to the investment man, and he said that it wasn't enough money because it's not. Because you have to invest on scale.
You can buy two stocks.
You can't buy. You gonna go Apple? Do you know Apple is like what, like 100 and something? What is Apple stock? Find out, Iron, how much Apple stock is right now. Any stock, like you don't have, and then you don't know what you buy. This is not enough. You invest in scale. So for him to be like, well, I got Mexicans asking me, you don't know what those Mexicans, and those people don't ever tell you everything. People don't ever tell you everything.
115.
Okay, so 115 Apple stock, 115 a piece. How many Apple stocks you gonna buy with like $1,000? You can't go up no investment. Say I'm gonna buy 10 apples, 10 apples. But go ahead, Carl. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, and I also was going to say at one point, I worked for the county. I worked at Cook County Jail. And a lot of people, I wasn't there a year yet, so I couldn't apply, but a lot of people ended up applying for a position that was probably about like almost $27 an hour, $28 an hour. And we were about $5 less than that.
Wow.
And it was a number of people with great degrees, had educational degrees, like the description, the job description. It was a lot of my coworkers that applied for this. And the person that got it, and this was just one instance, the person that ended up getting it was a girl who had just made her year. That was a Latino woman. She wasn't nothing but 23 years old. Mind you, it had been people at that county that had good standing at the county that still wasn't even interviewed for that job.
So what do you think was going on? What do you think was going on?
23-year-old social worker over these girls. And I just find it fascinating that he wants to sit there and say, well, Latinos are doing this and Latino. Okay, that's what you believe. But in 2 instances, did it happen at the county where they chose the Latino woman over people who had been doing a very good job at the county. Very good job at the county. And he wants to sit here and talk to us. Hey, I guess whatever delusion he believes in, that's on him. But to sit there and to say that we're not trying to make progress, to me, is upsetting because we are. Yeah. And it's hard, going different places and just hitting your head up against the wall because nobody is interested in hiring us or
Or giving you a chance.
Taking a chance on us.
Yeah. Nobody wants to take nobody, and that's what they don't want to say. Like, this is what, and people thought I was being anti-immigrant and xenophobic, but I see what's happening. I see African Americans being replaced by Latinos and other people, and that's a problem for me because African Americans are my priority. So that is a problem for me, and I'm not gonna go. Listen, I'm just tell you something. When Jim Crow happened, when all that stuff, people talk about Jim Crow as if it was just about racism. Jim Crow was about shutting us out economically. Half of the people that were hung from trees and all that stuff, not literally half, but a lot of people, you read the stories, these were business owners. When we did try to pool our money together, whether it was Black Wall Street, whether it was all this other stuff that happened, when we did try to do that and have businesses, then they just shut it down. That has never happened to Latinos. Latinos have never been in this country and been hung. Latinos have never been in this country and been lynched. Latinos have never been in this country and been like, and doing, I'm talking about like, we talking about like what happened to us during Jim Crow. Like, if you just came here as a migrant, I'm not talking about people who's like, well, there was some Latinos here in 17. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, don't talk to me about outliers. Don't talk to me about outliers. What happened to us in this country is unique. The only people who can say something similar are Native Americans. Nobody else. So don't talk to me about that. We did that. We did the same stuff that Latinos are doing now, and they shut us down. So I don't even want to hear about it. Right. Thank you, caller. I appreciate it. I appreciate you calling in. Thank you for sharing your story. It's helpful. I appreciate it. Goodness. People who want to blame black people first for everything. Everything our fault all the time. Go on. Another call. I'm sorry.
What cracks me up is about the spending habits. No, really. It's like people think that all of our problems come down to consumer habits, and that's just not the case. It's like if we consumed better, we wouldn't be shot. Like, that's what it comes down to. Like, all the problems in black communities have to do with our consumer habits, and we're not, like, that's not the issue. Like, all of the metrics say that we consume as responsibly or more responsibly than our white counterparts.
Isn't that what Darity said?
Yes, and
he
like
said
no
that we save more. We save more and we get less. The problem is not our savings rate. The problem is we get less. How can you sit there and see? You see. Like, stop. First of all, comparing me to immigrants. Compare me to white people. Like, we should just wear something on our head to say we white and you need to treat us like we white. Like, compare, because that's what we've been here the longest with. Like, don't compare me to that. Compare me to, like, look at like a white person. That the chart that Darity showed was really instructive in terms of a white person. He had to finish college to get what a black person who finished, who did not finish high school to get what a black person who finished college got in terms of income. They still have more wealth. A poor white person still has $10,000 in wealth. A poor black person is negative. 37% of black kids living in poverty. It ain't 37% of nobody else living in poverty. And we've been here 400 years and you talking about what we need to do.
Well, the problem is people think that wealth is an individual property. We talked about this before, right? People think that wealth is an individual property. Byron Allen is wealthy. No, that's not how wealth works. Wealth is not an individual property. It's a property of communities. You don't want one black multimillionaire surrounded by like black poverty. That's not wealth. You want everybody you know and everyone around you to have $110,000 in the bank.
Somebody say invest in Mexican food trucks. Take another call.
All right, let's go. This is anonymous. You on?
Hi, hello.
Hi, hello.
Yvette?
This is Yvette.
Hi. I feel the same way that the young lady that just called. The guy that called in, I am so over black people with white people talking points. That's how we got in this mess with Barack and his foolery, because they're so fearful of the white man, so they trot them out like show horses to tell black people everything that they're doing wrong. Black people haven't done anything wrong. Black people just been black.
Oh, yes. Yes.
All we've done is we've just been black. Black people are not lazy. I know this lady right now that's working 2 jobs that barely see her children. Get off me. They need to stop. And this whole thing, and when he said black people don't need money in their hands, where exactly do they need it?
I don't know. I don't know where you need it. 1,700, the Miller family. I keep saying that. 1,700.
Everybody else get money in hand. when they go to the government. That's what the government is for. And the other thing, the government, the reason why black people are in the condition that they're in as far as income, because, you know, he missed the whole point of wealth. He missed the last week, Monday or whatever, because he was talking about wealth and income. It's totally different. Right. And inheritance, that's completely different. You know, that's nothing. When you have an income, you don't have anything to draw from. You know,
that's true.
Ted Turner and all those people and Donald Trump, they can file bankruptcy and go broke 100 times and then still be billionaires.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Through. Black people can't do that because we never had anything, although it all belongs to us. You know, I'm so over here when I hear white people always talking about, oh, we own this land for 200 years, you know, in South Carolina, whatever. You know, they all those plantation homes. We own them for 200 years. No, that's unearned benefit. Those are unearned benefits. You didn't earn that. You know, with black people, that property technically belongs to us.
Yes.
And for Barack Obama, you know what? He's a non-factor. I am so over him. I'm shaking. Every time anyone says anything about him, I start seeing red because he's just a non-factor. You know, that he's celebrating with BT, giving him his last stroll. Get away from me. You know, I'm just, Yvette, I can't take it.
I can't take it either.
Have a talk about Michelle.
I remember asking me how you feel about Michelle.
Complicated, right?
Same thing. Listen, we would have to have a private conversation. I can tell you the private thing. I don't want to say all this stuff over the phone. I'm just so swear. I can have a private conversation to tell you the real scoop.
Nobody's listening. You just go ahead and tell us.
The same thing, she got her wig on straight, and now she thinks she's a rock.
She got a new wig, girl.
That's how I feel about her. Whatever it is, that's what I'm just saying. She got it on straight, and now they haven't done anything for black people. You know, I even have white people. Because when we want to talk about politics, they want to bring up Barack, and I said, I don't like him. And they said, well, it wasn't his fault. I said, he had a voice. I said, in the Congress, he had the people. The first 2 years he was in office, he had, the Congress was his, the Senate was his. He had opportunity to do something, but he didn't. I said, because he chose not to do anything for black people. He was fearful of the white man. I said, I'm over that type of behavior. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear him talking down to black people anymore, because that's what he constantly do. He's always telling black people how they need to act. How do you want to tell students at Howard to pull their bootstraps up? They bootstraps are not only up, they straight.
Morehouse. That was Morehouse where he really.
There's no encouragement.
Yes.
You know, it's
these are college graduates too.
But those are the white people talking points. White people have been so very crafty in keeping black people, number one, on non-relevant issues, like they call me the N-word, and all these other things that don't matter. And they've been very crafty in using other black people.
Yes,
to point
expert.
out our fault.
Or what they believe to be our fault.
Right, exactly. And exactly what they believe to be our fault. And we fall for it, and we end up adopting that type of language. We get those ideas, and then what we do is that we in turn, we start talking down to one another. Well, then now the white man don't have to do anything now because we beat each other down. You know, he's already taught us this constant brainwashing in America. And I really think the most important part is the reason why is because black people don't know the true history. If we really knew the true history, our true history and the history of this country, I think that we would look at this thing, we would have a different perspective.
We'd be upset.
Yeah, we'd be pissed off. We'd be infuriated all the time. Carla, somebody last week said they stole our inheritance. And I think that's the best way to put it on. That was you. Oh, you smart every week. You gotta call in every week. You said that last week. You said they stole our inheritance. I wrote that down. I said I'm gonna make a shirt that says they stole our inheritance, because that's just like that's what you should say every time somebody says something to you. Like, you should say they stole our inheritance. Period. I don't want to hear nothing else. Like, till you give it back, I don't want to hear nothing else. So I mean, I appreciate everything you said. I mean, I think you're so on point. I mean, I appreciate, your voice, and I appreciate you calling in, because you really have articulated what this means.
Thank you.
So
it is time for us to rally together on one special interest, and that's black people only.
Thank you. Thank you. I call it descendants of slaves.
We didn't get anything else. The only thing we got was civil. We didn't get any funding. We didn't get any land. We didn't get anything. But now everybody's got civil.
Yep. Now everybody has our civil. Now everybody has our civil because the thing about it is, yes, because affirmative action was meant for black people. So now everybody gets it. It don't matter if everybody get it. Everybody except white men get it. So what does it matter? Jesus Christ.
It doesn't.
Thank you.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling in again. I really do appreciate it. Oh, sanity. Thank you. Oh my God. And then I just want to point out one thing she said. Yes. She said black people with white people talking points. That's what you got to watch out for. I want everybody to watch out for what she just said. Watch out. If a black people is using white people talking points, they are not your friend. Like, they are not your friend. They are not your ally. Cut them off at the boots, because if they're using white people talking points, they're not your friend. I mean, these are just, we need to come up with a list of like things to watch out for.
Well, honestly, and then go to the arguments that you're not allowed to say in front of white people.
Yeah.
The arguments that you're not allowed to say in front of white people. Like, for example, Goldman Sachs can get their bank outs. The auto loan industry can get their bailouts. Where's the black bailout? Where's the black bailout? You're not allowed to say that in front of white people because they're like, what are you asking for the government? No, I want my bailout.
Government all the time.
And farm subsidies. You take away our land, and then like you subsidize white farmers.
Like, how do you always ask me to stop asking for a handout, but that's all you do? Like, your whole life is built on handouts. Like, people don't understand. Like, the Homestead Act, all of that stuff that happened was like the reason they got a leg up was white people getting a handout from the government. Now you're gonna tell me after we've already gone through a period what you created. Like, people don't understand. People created wealth during a period that when America was growing. America ain't growing no more. Like, the America's in decline actually. Wages have been stagnant. So they created all that wealth. And and they got a handout to get it. And they're like, what you looking for a handout for? And they still get, that's what
as they take their handout. People like Jewish people.
Behind their back, getting it from the government. Like, what you looking at? No, you need to go work.
The best will be like, well, do group economics like the Jewish people. Do group economics like the Jewish people. Who do you think the banking bailout went to? Like, they do group economics and they get their government.
They get money. They get their government to pay them money. And the problem is we have too many black people who have adopted like Ronald Reagan talking points. Like, don't come to me as a black, like, it's funny that black people be like, oh, I hate Trump, which like I said at the beginning of the show, I would talk to Trump. I think he's the president of the United States of America, for God's sake. But it's apparent to me that people will be like, I hate Trump, but then they'll turn around and say we got to do for self. Well, you're talking like Republicans who are much more conservative than Trump. You're talking like Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush. That's what they told black people. Like, what are you talking about? You say on one hand you hate Trump, but on the other hand you're talking just like every other Republican that ever lived. Shut up. You don't know what you're doing or what you're talking about. Do we have another call?
Yeah, we got calls.
Bring them in. Bring them in, everybody tonight.
Oh, hi, this is Kathleen Yvette.
Hey, Kathleen, how you doing?
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Your show is so popular. I'm glad to hear it.
I am,
and
too.
I'm glad to see that you're, like, educating people about illegal immigration. That's a good thing.
Yes, absolutely it is. Absolutely.
I know.
I said absolutely.
Yes, and I was in your chat room and there are a lot of people talking. That's fantastic. The only thing I wanted to say, the reason why I called in is because I wanted to sort of comment on the man that called in, because I'm not sure I understood everything he said, because he was saying a lot of things. A lot of those things I didn't get. They were like kind of like code or something. I don't know. But my take from what he was saying is that, I mean, we have to talk about a specific time frame. I think that we, in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, after Black Wall Street, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, black people were led astray by our leaders, our black activists, our black preachers, our black politicians. Yep. Instead of telling us to put, because we were making, we were building a middle class during the 70s and the 80s. Yeah. And there weren't blacks. There was a big middle class, in fact. That's how you got all these neighborhoods and homes. So instead of telling us to start small businesses
instead of telling us to the importance of financial literacy, invest with each other, the stuff that we hear Claude Anderson say now, which he said 30 years ago. We didn't do that. And I think that's what that guy is saying. Well, it's not our fault because we didn't know. We didn't know about financial literacy, the things to do to start a small business. We were led astray. But I think that's what he was saying. We should have been building communities in the 70s and in the 80s, but instead we did other things with our money because there was a time when we did have money. And also, you know that there are, particularly in LA, I'll speak about LA, I know it best, but there were homes in the middle class neighborhood that were left to children, generational wealth, right? And what did the children do?
So Kathleen, I'm from Baldwin Hills. I grew up in the Dons, Don Ayanas, Don Felipe, Don, all those.
Right.
And so, like, there was a window where black people could buy houses in California for not a lot of money. From like 1972 to like 1983, I want to say. Is that true? Is that about right, Kathleen? 1985?
Right, even before, like in the 60s.
Yeah, in the 60s.
We bought our house, my family bought their house in 1962.
Right, for a reasonable amount of money. And then, like, after about 1985, I want to say black people are priced out of LA. Like houses, like, can you move in now? Are black people moving into LA? Or is that just gone?
No, they can't move in. But what I'm saying is that the blacks who bought homes in the 70s, the 60s and 70s,
right.
They left their homes to their children.
That's great.
And what did their children do with their home?
I think did they sell them and go to the Essence Festival? I mean, because I'm just asking because sometimes we're not good stewards of that sort of thing. I mean, you know, and I want to know what they did with them too.
Well, when someone dies,
right? But we know what they did with them because we know them. We know what happened.
Tell me what happened, Kathleen.
I talk to people, and this is, and this is what, we must be self-reflective. We have been led astray, yes. And I think that's what he was talking about, that we even Dr. Claude Anderson talks about our bad behavior. Even Nilly Fuller talks about our bad behavior. A lot of the kids ended up incarcerated or on crack. Or, I was talking to one guy the other day, and he said his mother refinanced, and then she couldn't pay the refinance, and her house was taken away.
That's a common story. That happens.
Yeah,
and the banks love it.
Kathleen, no, Kathleen, I think you're right. I think you're right about that. I think what happens sometimes too is like one of the things I tell people is that my parents were never selfish. Like, my parents bought stuff and they kept it, and they didn't take out a second mortgage, and they didn't take the equity out because their whole belief is that's for your kids. And I think something has been lost in terms of I think we have to be self-reflective, and I think you're right. Something has been lost in our community that everybody thinks, listen, if you have to leave your kids something, and the kid has to be responsible. You have to leave the kid something, and the kid has to be responsible enough to take care of it. Like, those two things have to happen. Like, you left me this. This is my responsibility to keep it and take care of it. Now I am now a steward of this, and I don't think that's happening anymore. And I agree with you on that point.
Right. And I think the time frame that he was talking about, because the 70s, 80s, and 90s is different from the 2010, where we are today. Yeah. So I think that he was talking about we kind of blew some stuff after Wall Street and in between today, like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. A lot of, I met a guy, I was having a garage sale, and a guy came, he said, he lived in View Park.
Yeah.
I lost my mother's home because I got on crack. The 80s was like a big crack thing in Los Angeles. So there's some things that we did during that time period. Yes, during Wall Street, they burned us out. The white folks screwed us bad. But right around 70, 80, 90, what did we do? That's a question, I think.
Yeah, I think I think this goes to your point, Kathleen. There was if you go back, there's a ebony cover. There's a cover of ebony. It's in the Reagan administration, and it says the black middle class, who's in and who's out. Like, so that goes to show you that there was a building little black middle class during that period. I think the crack epidemic was a part of it, but I also think something happened to black people in terms of, crack, of course, disintegrated families. But you also have something
no fault divorce and a lot of other things.
I think something else happened in terms of how we started thinking. We started thinking of ourselves as white people. I honestly believe this. Right. So we started behaving like white people. Well, they go here. I can go here and spend money here. Well, they do this and they do that, and I'm going to just mimic my behavior, not understanding that you're still 13% of the population and you're under siege. You have to be a better steward of what you do have than anybody else.
Exactly. I agree with you, and I think that's the time frame. The man that called in, I don't know his name. I think he was talking about, we're all about living large. Doing it big, during the 80s, when we should have been, doing it differently, I think.
Right.
We should have been doing it differently.
But we had affirmative action, we had policies.
Both are true.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Racism has effed us, has screwed us forever.
Yeah,
and there's some things we could have done.
Yeah,
I think both are true, but just to... that's
I agree. He's talking about. I think my problem with him is that he's talking about today. What I'm saying is that, and I've discussed this with a few friends and professionals and think of it. Like, I think something tore apart, and I haven't figured out exactly what that thing is. Like, even if I look at my parents today, my parents will tell me if I say let's go out to eat, they'll be like, but we got food in the refrigerator. But what do you mean? And it took me a long time as a kid to figure out what they meant. What they meant was, we're not spending money when there's food in the refrigerator, because that food will spoil and we will waste money. Like, but we began to think, like, even in terms, and that's just a microcosm of how we began to think about life and our place in it in a way that didn't match who we are and didn't match our positionality in this country. And I think that is something that we have to fix, because if we don't fix it, even if we get money, we'll be bad stewards of that money anyway, and it won't matter.
So let's talk about that time period.
Thank you, Kathleen. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
that was a great call.
That was a great call. Well, Kathleen's wonderful. But let's talk about that time period, because there's a lot going on in that time period, too, that was actually building. It was working. We had black people in government jobs that were stable. We had affirmative action policy where politicians actually said the words affirmative action. Like, Maxine Waters was doing her job, like getting black people contracts, and we had Marion Barry, and I'm sorry, I will say this. Last week, I made fun of Marion Barry a little bit, because, you get caught with a prostitute and cocaine, it's an easy joke. But Marion Barry did his job because he actually understood that his job was getting money into the hands of black people. So he shifted a lot of contracts over to black-owned businesses, which is what we want our politicians to do. So Marion Barry, thank you for that. I think he passed on, so rest in peace. But
yeah, he passed on.
Yeah, but you can do what you want with the strippers and the cocaine, and I did think they set you up.
Cocaine.
Yeah.
What you
but
say.
he put money in black people's pockets. So there was a black political class that kind of understood that their job was to put money in black people's pockets. You got Maynard Jackson down in Atlanta saying, look, if we're gonna have the Olympics here, 33% of those contracts need to go to black-owned businesses. And then we had, like I said, affirmative action and politicians who said, we need to do something for black
And the problem
people.
with Maynard, though, he did fire a lot of garbage truck black workers. You got to trickle this stuff down. Right. The problem is, I don't even think black people understand, African Americans understand that we're a community anymore. That kind of go to Kathleen's point for me. We don't seem to understand that we're a community and we can't survive without each other. It kind of goes to Elizabeth's point last week. The day before yesterday. But she was talking about how she's worked with black people and then they get in there and it's even though she invested in the company, I don't want to do, I don't want to do business with you no more. We're a community. We don't survive. Do you understand that, we don't survive without helping each other? Do you really understand that? You can't go and mimic white people. That's not how this works.
We've lost it.
Well, we did good. We got a 10:51.
Okay.
We did almost.
All right. Well, then we'll just call it what we'll call that. Thank you. And now we're